Hello, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be telling you all about the hottest, sexiest, steamy books that I read in 2022. I've done this kind of video on my channel, I think every year since I've started out. I'll leave a link in the description to some of the past years if you want to go find more sexy, steamy books to read. But these are some of my favorite videos to film because I feel like this is a good way to collect some of the romances that I've absolutely loved the most over the past year. For me, steamy, sexy, hot doesn't necessarily mean over the top, smutty, like book talk type recommendations. These are books that I think have a lot of emotional heart and depth that I think makes these steamy scenes even better. I'm going to share those with you here today. These are not, like I said, going to be the most over-the-top recommendations ever, but these are books that definitely made me blush or made my heart race a little bit, and that's really all I can ask for from romance. All right, let's get the most popular book on this list out of the way first. We have Love on the Brain by Miss Allie Hazelwood. I had to add this book to the list because for me, this was one of the hottest books that I've read this year. This book follows Bee, who is a neuroengineer, and she has gotten the career opportunity of a lifetime. She's been asked to work with NASA on special space helmets that I think will map out the brains of the wearer and I think like track their brain activity when they're in space or something like that. Not entirely sure about the science behind it. I'm not a science bitch. But unfortunately, Bee's dreams are not going to be realized as quickly as she thinks they are or as easily as she thinks they are because she's having to work with a career nemesis, Levi. She met this guy back in grad school and he seemed to not want anything to do with her. He did some seemingly shady things that Bee has kind of potentially misinterpreted. But in the present day, with some time and communication, Bee and Levi are able to kind of work through their differences, and Bee starts to see Levi in a different light when she realizes he's actually helping her project along instead of hindering its success. So she starts to realize Levi isn't so bad after all, and she does want to jump his jolly green giant bones. Like I said in the intro of this video, this book I think relies so much on the misunderstanding and on the sexual tension of the story, and that's what makes the steamy scenes in this book so hot. It's not that they are full boob and mouth moments like we have in the first book in the series, but we do have the tension and the romantic pull that you need to make a steamy scene feel as high stakes as these ones were. Also, in comparison with The Love Hypothesis, I really enjoyed Love on the Brain because it had some of my personal favorite tropes, which is mutual pining, obviously, and then this sort of like secret identity correspondence thing that they have going on, not knowing who the other person is and kind of like DMing each other. Delightful. Talking about the person like they're not the person you're talking to. Come on, that is a supreme trope. Now, I will say to this book's detractors that yes, I do acknowledge that this book has maybe the silliest ending of any book that I've read in the recent past, and the whole comically large dude with Thumbelina heroine thing is getting a little bit tired from Miss Allie Hazelwood, but I feel like I'm willing to overlook it for frankly some of my favorite tropes and I don't know, steamiest moments in a book in recent history for me. So I really enjoyed this book. I would highly recommend picking it up. I feel like this one is far superior to Allie Hazelwood's first book, and I think it doesn't get the recognition that it deserves. Next up we have Give Me More by Sarah Kate. Now, I really feel like 2022 was the year of Sarah Kate for a lot of us here in the romance community because Miss Sarah Kate released not one but 4 smutty, kink-filled novels for us to consume and enjoy, which I feel like is awfully magnanimous if you ask me. This one I think is the hottest of the 4 because there are more people involved, therefore more opportunities for steam. This book follows Isabel and Hunter, who over the course of the story realize something is missing from their relationship. And that something is their best friend Drake, who Hunter asks to have relations with his wife. But it doesn't just stop there. We have Hunter and Drake realize their feelings for each other as the story continues on, and Isabel's relationship with Drake definitely deepens into something more than just a sexual relationship. And all of this is discovered through plentiful and creative scenes that I frankly haven't read anything like before. And sometimes I think that originality is the key to success when I am reading a romance. Frankly, I think it is one of the biggest keys to success when you read romance as frequently as I do. Another book where I feel like the emotions are crucial to making this book memorable. There's a lot of MMF books out there, especially smutty ones, but they don't seem to have the emotional depth that this one has, which really makes it a romance and sets it apart from a, you know, traditional 70-page smutty novella. So for that reason and many, many more, I really, really enjoyed this book. I also enjoyed the other 3 books in the series, and I would actually recommend looking up the synopses of each of these books before deciding to pick them up, mostly because they are very kink focused, and if you don't enjoy the kink present in the book, I think it's unlikely that you are going to enjoy that particular romance. This one is just my personal favorite, and I think, you know, you can find something OTT smutty for yourself from this author. Switching gears a little bit, we have a wholesome small town romance, emphasis on the holes, Heartless by Miss Elsie Silver. This book is about single dad Cade, who is looking for a nanny for his 5-year-old son Luke, and he's interviewed a few different women in his town, but it seems like everyone is just really enamored by the fact that he is this like successful single dad. They want to get in his pants, and they don't really have the best interests of Luke at heart. They're not really trying to be a nanny. They're just like, oh yeah, like I can take care of the kid to get to the dad. Not really what Cade is looking for, and he sees through a lot of these kind of transparent attempts by women, and he just feeling kind of lost, right? He needs a nanny for the summer so he can get a lot of stuff done around the family ranch, I believe. And in comes Willa, who is the best friend of his sister-in-law, and she is just looking for something to do over the summer. She wants to hang around her friend, who I don't think she has seen recently since her friend has recently gotten engaged and is like living on this kind of ranch farm or whatever and not living in a city anymore. And Willa decides she's going to do this. She's not really like super big into kids. She doesn't hate kids or anything, but she also has absolutely no interest in Cade, which is the most appealing thing to Cade. And he kind of has to fight the fact that he is not only attracted to this woman, but he also doesn't think this woman is necessarily like the best fit as a nanny. She's not this like sweet, nurturing, like stereotypical nanny type. She definitely has like a little bit of a playfulness and a little bit of an attitude to her, and I think that lends itself very well to the way the story is laid out. The first part of the book is really all about the longing and the tension. These two, again, have this sort of like sexual chemistry. They have this playful banter, and we have Willa really willing to stick up for herself. It feels very different than something like An Irresistible by Melanie Harlow. That book is a lot of fun too. It's another small town romance with a similar premise, but the heroine here is so fiery that I think it makes this tension so much more believable and so much more interesting. There's tons of chemistry and spark, and the characters I don't think get together until like the 50 or 60% mark of this book, after some like sweet caretaking moments and things like that I think add to the sexual tension of the story. I also think if you're a boring traditional woman in a relationship with a man like myself, you might enjoy the additional parts of the story. It might be the icing on top to a very sexy story, because Cade is fairly wealthy and he says to Willa, I know you're trying to figure your shit out and you're trying to like kind of get your career together. Don't worry about that. I will work and make the money while you figure out what you want to do. You know, be a free spirit, have fun. I mean, come on. If that's not delightfully sexy, I don't know what is. In general, though, the series is a whole lot of fun. They don't need to be read in order, so if you want to read this one first and then decide if you want to read the first book in the series, you can totally do that. That's generally the case for romances. Just for future reference, if you're like new to romance or new to my videos, like if I tell you to go read the third book in a series, you're probably not going to miss out on anything if you pick that one up first. I really liked this book, and of all of the books on this list, I think this is the second safest bet for a universally enjoyable read, with the most universally enjoyable title going to Miss Burger King Borison herself and her first novel, Lovely Farms. This book with an absolutely precious cover is one that I was really hesitant to pick up until y'all relentlessly recommended this one whenever I asked for small town romance recommendations. Y'all said this one had all of the Gilmore Girls vibes, and upon reflection, I have to definitely agree with that. The hero and the heroine of the story are not giving Luke and Lorelai or Jess and Rory vibes at all, but the townspeople and the overall atmosphere of the story definitely feels like Stars Hollow. So I definitely think this is a fun one to pick up around the holiday season. This book in general is about Stella, who owns a Christmas tree farm in a small town, which, you know, charming Hallmark / Gilmore Girls vibes, absolutely love to see it. And she's supported in this endeavor by her two best friends / co-workers / co-owners, Beckett and Layla, and then she also has the help and support of her best friend for many years, Luca. It is a friends to lovers romance, which I absolutely adore, and I feel like the struggles that the characters go through in this story feel very realistic. They're not super over the top. This is not going to be something that is really going to emotionally wreck you or break you, but I liked reading about characters who felt really realistic, and I liked seeing that progression from friendship to romance. It was so delightful, and I think that's very often hard for romance authors to pull off well. Doing a really sweet, swoony romance and then having equally hot and sexy scenes in the book, it can feel a little bit jarring to kind of mesh those two things together, but I think the way that BK Borison does it in the story is by having these moments of tension and drawing attention to small details like the veining in a man's hands as he hands you your favorite cup of coffee that he made exactly the way that you want it. Just these small details that I think add to the tension of the story. When they finally get together, you're like, hell yeah. Which is what I'm looking for in a romance 90% of the time. Not a total slow burn romance girly, but I do really like some lead up. This book completely nails that. Also, if you end up really enjoying this book, I think the second book in the series is equally as fantastic. There is less of a slow burn element there. It is more about kind of finding your person after you have like slept with that person. And that one's again equally as delightful as well. It does have those sweet holiday vibes, that this one I think kind of tops the second one for me. A book that evokes a completely different time of year, and one that I kind of debated putting on this list, is A Deal with the Devil by Elizabeth O'Rourke. The reason I hesitated to put this book on the list is because I've read almost all of Elizabeth O'Rourke's fairly extensive backlist this year, and I've really enjoyed almost everything she's published. I think all of her books have the kind of slow burn quality that I enjoy without being super long and drawn out. No shade to Mariana Zapata, but these books are around the 350 page mark and still give me the slow burn that I desire. So again, it was kind of hard to decide which one to put on this list, but A Deal with the Devil is one that I read first. past and has really stuck with me as a book that is just so steamy and fun and feels a lot different than a lot of the other romances that I've read in the recent past, which again I think is why I continued to read Elizabeth O'Rourke's books. Something about them just really work for me. So this book is about plastic surgeon Hayes, and he is a prototypical damaged hero. I am personally really into the whole damaged hero trope, and because he is a damaged hero, he is a little bit of a shit show, which is not helped by the fact that his long-term assistant is going out of town and leaves his assistant duties to one of his best friends, Natalia, who is, I think, kind of between jobs at the time. And he's like, hey, can you take on this duty and help this guy? I know that you don't like him very much and you think he's a little bit of a douchebag, but he needs your help and he's gonna pay you pretty handsomely. She's like, okay, like I'll sign up for this, that's fine. And she finds herself falling for him as she is taking care of him and getting him on track and to a better place. Now, I think that description could maybe turn some people off and make you think that this woman is a caretaker for a guy who frankly should be getting his shit together himself. And I think that's a fair critique, but this book doesn't really feel like that to me, mostly because of the interactions between Hayes and Natalia. Their banter and the way that Elizabeth O'Rourke infuses sardonic humor in her stories, I think really makes this book feel standout. And again, the lead up here is so fantastic that when they do get together, you're like, oh my god, this is so hot. Even though Elizabeth O'Rourke writes, I would say, fairly similar sex scenes in all of her books, none of them feel really remarkable in terms of like novelty sex acts, but that doesn't make them any less scorching. I also think this one's a standout because Hayes has the dubious honor of being my book boyfriend, my ultimate book boyfriend of the year. So I don't know, I just feel like you should pick this one up. You should pick up really anything by Elizabeth O'Rourke, and if you're looking for something, I don't know, perhaps a little bit more emotional, might I recommend Waking Olivia. That one's also fantastic, but this one I think edges it out just a little bit because it emphasizes those heavy emotions just a little bit less, which I think can make for a sexier story. I mean, not that heavy emotions aren't great too, but you know, sometimes I just want like hot steamy sex and I don't want to like cry as well. So anyway, I like this book. I'd highly recommend picking it up. Next up, we have a sapphic entry on this list that was highly recommended again by my subscribers when I asked for Kindle Unlimited recommendations from you. I'll leave a link in the description down below if you would like to check out that video. It's one of my favorites that I've made this year, and I read 10 of my subscribers' favorite KU books with varying levels of success, but frankly, I found some new gems and new favorites, and Party Favors is one of those. This book is kind of somewhere between a smutty novella and a full-length romantic novel in terms of both content and length of story. Historically, I would say I'm not a huge fan of smutty novellas because while I do enjoy sex scenes in a book, I'm not really looking for sex scenes that are devoid of emotion and devoid of backstory. To me, that's just not really very sexy. Somehow this book masters the balance between smut and romance. It's about our two main characters, Amanda and Ren, who are online BFFs who met quite a few years ago. I want to say like 3 or 4 at this point. They text every day. They're girls being girls. They're best friends. You know what I mean? There has never really been a true romantic thread between them, but there have definitely been failed relationships on the parts of both of them, and they definitely like lean on each other when those relationships kind of go south. Anyway, I think Ren invites Amanda on a New Year's Eve trip so they can finally meet in person, and what happens over New Year's does not actually stay over New Year's because these two do end up together after this kind of New Year's trip, New Year's fling, but the sparks fly in a way that I genuinely was not expecting. I did expect this book to be hot because y'all said, hey, if you're looking for a sapphic story that does have like really convincing steamy sex scenes, you should definitely pick this one up. But I just didn't expect it to be this level of good. I loved the interactions between Amanda and Ren, and the way that they were able to pick up on each other's needs and communicate those needs so quickly, I thought was really compelling and really lent itself to the fact that these two have been friends for such a long time. And it absolutely boggles the mind the way that this author is able to progress not only this relationship from the start of the story to the end in a way that was satisfying, but also have individual character arcs and character development for two people in a book under 200 pages. It's astounding to me, and I feel like I need to pick up more from this author in the future because it is genuinely an impressive feat to me that this author was able to carry out what she did in this page length. This is another book that I think would be really fun to read over the holiday season, especially if you're feeling kind of slumpy towards the end of the year. You need a good pick-me-up, something that feels really delightful and romantic, but also again like scorchingly hot. You should definitely pick this one up. And lastly, we have Fling by Adriana Locke. Now, this is a book that I put on this list in the 7th spot because I wasn't entirely sure if it was going to make the list, but there's just something about this book that really drew me in and really kept me captivated, even though it wasn't the most unique and original story. And it's funny that this one is being added to the list because I also added another book by this author onto last year's Sexiest Books of 2021 list, and I have not read any other books by this author this year, I believe. So I've read 2 of her books, both of which had made my Sexiest Books of the Year list, and yet I've never read more by her. I feel like that needs to be corrected next year, but I digress. This book is about Ashley and her fling turned partner Maddox. Ashley at the start of the story is coming off of a pretty rough engagement. She ended up breaking up with her ex-fiance, but she is left with 2 non-refundable tickets to an all expenses paid kind of honeymoon situation. All inclusive, I should say, not all expenses paid. The expenses were definitely paid by Miss Ashley. And she turns to her best friends to kind of help her out. She initially asks them if either one of them will come with her on this vacation. Both of them are unfortunately busy, but they do help Ashley to find a perfect match for this honeymoon vacation. And they end up coming up with Maddox, who is a friend of Ashley, kind of an acquaintance type friend, and they've never really explored their attraction to each other. They're not like childhood best friends to lovers or anything. It's definitely more like I've known this person for a while, kind of in passing thought they were hot, and I get to know them better on a steamy vacation trip together. And that's what this book is. It is about them going on vacation, kind of finding out that they have feelings for each other, and then trying to make sure those feelings can last beyond just a, week-long trip. They're able to pull it off. It is really fun to read. The only reason that this one is like the 7th on my list, it's kind of like an honorable mention pick for me, is that I feel like the ending of the story was tonally just a little bit weird when Ashley's fiance kind of comes back into the picture. That was a little bit of a bummer for me. I kind of feel like I definitely wanted the conflict of the story to be between Ashley and Maddox and trying to make their relationship work, less so about outside forces coming in. But despite that, this book was just fun, and the reason I'm adding it to the list is because it's one of those books that feels very effortless. The writing is really accessible, and I feel like Adriana Locke, it's not that she has a formula that she sticks to every time, it's just that she is really adept at writing a good romance. It's very clear to me that she's a very seasoned and experienced writer, and sometimes I want to pick up a book and just know that I'm not going to be annoyed by the plotting of the book or by the characters of the book. That being said, the brothers in this book are surprisingly annoying, but the main character is not annoying, and I just think she does a good job at writing, right? Like, she's just a great author, and I enjoy her books. If you want a book that is fairly drama-free, I think this is a pretty fun one to pick up. That is it from me. Those are my 6/7 sexiest books of 2022, sexiest, hottest, steamiest, whatever you want to call it, books of 2022. I hope you found a new book to add to your TBR from watching this video, and I would love it if in the comments of this video you could let me know what your favorite romance of the year was, the thing you thought was the steamiest and hottest. And if you're feeling particularly bold, I'm also going to leave a link in the description to a Google form where I am asking my subscribers, hey, what's your favorite book that you read of 2022? It doesn't have to be a romance, and it also doesn't have to be published in 2022, just the best thing you've read this year. I'm collecting those and reading them in early 2023, so again, I'll have that link in the description if you want to enter that Google form. Completely anonymous, definitely don't have to do it, but if you would like to, feel free to, add some favorites to the list. But thanks so much for watching. I love y'all so much, and until next time.